Today, me and Annette are going to interview one of our computer science professors about cryptography. So, the first question is, what is cryptography?
Cryptography is the art and science of making, breaking, and analyzing codes. It has been used for a very long time, starting with Caesar. That's the most well-known example. And Caesar had a cipher of 3. I'm sorry, this is a video. Caesar had a cipher of 3, wherein he sent his messengers with letters, and all the words in that letter were shifted up by an amount of 3. It's called a substitution cipher, where each letter is substituted for something else. There are many other kinds of ciphers, and clearly a Caesar cipher will not work for our world today. We've moved on to more complex mechanisms that are based on mathematics. Cryptography was mostly dormant until the 20th century, and during the World Wars, it was necessary for cryptography as a means to exchange secret messages because communications had not developed independently. So the Germans had their own system, the Allies had their own systems, and it came down to who could come up with interesting devices, dials, rotors, combinations to create codes that the other party would not understand. After that, they started thinking about more mathematical frameworks to develop sound ways in which codes cannot be broken. Now, when we say codes cannot be broken, Caesar cipher was not easily broken in his time. Beginner ciphers are not easily broken in that time. And so this is a time-based challenge. What works for us now in the next 50 years, maybe all of them can be broken. And that's the premise of what we call as quantum cryptography. We're moving toward that. Current computers have a 1-0 to encode any information, but quantum cryptography is along a continuum where there's not one specific mapping, and they work very fast. Work is still in the research phase, but many research industry labs have jumped on it, and it's only a matter of time before they're able to come up with something that will break all of our codes. So it's a continuous science that's evolving.
Wow. Okay, that's a very good answer.
Have you ever created a program for encrypting or decrypting?
I could, I have not, but my students have.
Yes.
So in Python, for example, we do Caesar ciphers. Some in previous years, projects have involved RSA, which is a commonly used cipher on web browsers these days. The Markov-Hellman knapsack cryptography. It was a precursor to RSA, but was broken in the 80s, just because computers had evolved to a point where they had the capacity to do brute force attacks against those algorithms. So I have not, but there is a lot of documentation online. If you wanted to say do DES or AES or any of the ciphers, it can be easily done.
Awesome. Okay. Cool. Okay. Would you ever want to become a cryptographer?
I think so. Currently, so in the United States, the government gives the NIST, the NIST, authority to come up with ciphers, approve ciphers, and also hire people who can break ciphers. It's the place where the most talented mathematicians go to work, at the NSA and the NIST.
Yeah.
And if you go to their website, you can see some of them. You'll see their profiles. You'll see the groups working in specific areas.
They have them public?
Yeah, they have them all public. All of their work is public. And that's the premise of cryptography. There's something called Kirchhoff's principle. If I develop an algorithm that is secure only because no one knows about it, how much can I bank on that obscurity? Because one day, maybe someone can break into my office and get that piece of paper, and now my algorithm is not secure anymore. But instead, if my algorithm is secure, even if everybody knows about it and still no one can find out how to break it, that's the ultimate test. And
Then you're
that's
doing your
called
job.
Kirchhoff's principle.
Okay.
And that's what all ciphers should aspire to these days, because,
Yeah.
even from a biblical perspective, one day everything that's hidden will come to light, and we cannot bank on hiding something as a safe means. So yeah, I'd like to collaborate with the NIST folks and do some work for them.
That would be cool.
Yeah, it would. Why is cryptography not taught as its own class at OBU?
Okay, there are two answers to this. I've taught it as an independent study before. She graduated 2 years ago and she's now working for the federal government. But it requires students who are strong in number theory and discrete math. And I'm not saying that our students are not, but it's hard to find enough number of students in order to fill a class.
Yeah.
That coupled with the fact that we do elements of cryptography in 3 courses, at least 3 courses: network security, forensics, and assurance. As you know, you've both taken 2 or 3 of those, and other classes talk about it. So we're not offering it as its own course, but certainly, if a student wants to do an independent study, there are avenues to do that at OBU.
Awesome. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yes, and that is it. Thank you so much for answering our questions.
You're welcome.